BCC 10 allows you to create both 2D and 3D text along with 3D logos and shape manipulation. Let's take a look.
So I'm in my chapter 4.6 composition, and I think it's important to note before looking at BCC Title Studio that this is part of the entire Boris Continuum Complete package we saw in chapter 1, saw a bit of in chapter 2. So unlike the other plugins we focused on in this chapter, you get Title Studio and a whole lot more. So with Title Studio, you can extrude text, we can import 3D models, and also work with 3D shapes. So let's see what BCC Title Studio has to offer. Now, for more information, keep in mind you can head to borisfx.com to download a trial and see tutorials featuring all of these capabilities. In my composition, I'm going to turn on my solid here. I just turned it off because all it is black. And I'm going to select it, and we're going to apply the BCC Title Studio effect. I did a search for title in my effects and presets ahead of time, and now I'm just going to select that effect and drop it on the solid. And right away we go into the Boris Continuum Complete Title Studio. I'm going to hit on the text tab, and we're going to just change this default text. We've got to go down to the timeline and select the Boris Effects text. And keep in mind this is part of a 3D container. So 3D containers are all of the objects that make up our title. This could be some shapes, this could be our text, and anything that we make in transformations or any settings there affect everything. I'm going to select my text now and change this to Title Studio. I just double clicked in the top there to do that. And I'm going to select it again. I'm going to head down and just lower its font size, make it about 96 so we can see that a bit better. So keep in mind all the transformation settings will affect everything in that 3D container. Our text is now scaled down. We could make more stylistic changes, but let's actually close out of here, hit save, and we're going to go into another section where we can actually browse some presets. So this updates inside of After Effects, and I'm going to go into my effect controls and click on the effects browser. You can see here hundreds of titles that we can choose from. If you followed along with other Boris movies, this looks similar. I'm just going to hit play so we can preview this title animation. But these are presets for titles, and as you can see, here's some animation going across some lovely designed 3D text. I recommend that you explore by simply clicking on the presets and then hitting play to play back the various animations that are inside the Title Studio preset library. Scrolling down until I see these countdown based effects. So here's a flat one. This is pretty cool. And I'm going to actually select one that's a little bit more oriented or has some more orientation in 3D space. I really like this, so I'm going to apply this to my After Effects composition. And as you can see, it updates. So at first, it might not look like my Title Studio text is there, but if we look down here, just underneath these seconds, you can see the Title Studio text is there in the main counter. This overall seconds counter is way too big, so we need to scale this down. Let's actually head into our effect controls, and we're going to go to use transformations. If I hit the disclosure triangle here, we can start to play around with the master scale. So I'm going to change that. Let's try an amount of 30. And then let's use this crosshair to move our text down here to the lower right. I'm just going to click, and then all of a sudden our text moves. You can see it looks a little bit dark, so I'm going to go to the layer menu and choose New Light to add a light to the scene. I'm going to make sure it's a point light, and I'm going to name it point so that I know that it's that 360-degree bulb. I'll leave the intensity at 100% and press OK. That gets added to my scene, and notice that this is a 2D layer, but it is working with 3D lights, and that's because of this Use Comp Light button. I'll click it off and on. You can see the effect the light has on the scene. Let's make changes to the overall look and feel of this text, and for that we have to go into Launch UI under Effect Controls. Now we're back inside of the Boris Effects area, and this is our 3D scene container here at the bottom. I'm going to just close out some items here, and you can see here that I can select various elements such as the clock, turn it off and on, just to get familiar with what's inside that group, okay, such as the frames and the frames per second. So this just gets me overall familiar with the elements that are here. Now, I want to change this sort of reflection background here under the clock. So I'm going to head first of all to the outer arc. So that's the outer arc showing just to the right of the Title Studio. In this, I'm going to go to the front material just to load that, and we can see there that we're able to see the reflection and that currently there's a reflection map being used. And I'm going to change this, and all I have to do is go up here to the material styles, and as long as I pick a material style and double click it, it will replace that front material. We'll choose the with reflections items. And you can see here, there's a long list of different materials that you can select, but with reflections will bring up some pretty nice ones. And I'll scroll all the way down to the warm reflective. And once I double click, that is now applied to the outer arc. So we can do that to the main body of the seconds as well. Let's just close out this outer arc section just to keep everything neat and organized. Well, let's change the overall feel of the coloring of our text. So we can see the Title Studio and the 5 seconds are different colors, and we want to change them all to a yellow color. So first of all, I'll head to the Title Studio section. I'll reveal its contents, and I'll choose the front material color. So with that selected, I'll go back up to the material styles, and we'll just go to a different section. I'm going to go here to the yellow orange variations, and I'm going to choose the 03. And once I double click, that's now applied to the Title Studio text. I'll close that out and now go to the seconds, which happens to have the front material color as well. And I'll double click that. Now that's applied to the seconds. Now to apply that to the 5 that's in this, it's actually named Boris Effects. That's okay though. We can simply go to the Boris Effects section. So I'll just select that Boris Effects, choose the front material color within it, and then double click that 03. And all of our titles are now updated. All we had to do was choose the front material color inside the various titles names. Now, I would like to also change the countdown. It goes right now from 10 seconds to 0. We're going to change that to 15 seconds. So what we have to do is just find where this animation is. And this animation is under Boris Effects. I'm going to go into the Boris Effects and hit the disclosure triangle, where we'll see that there's options for various transformations. Once I hit that disclosure triangle, we now see a bunch of different ways that we can animate this text, place it on a path, we can type it on, we can actually even make this text jitter. But what we're going to do is work with the generator, and one of those generators is the ability for a countdown to occur. So you can see here this generator type 1, and the generator type 1 is currently set to numeric value. You'll notice that there are 2 keyframes here in the timeline for the 10 second and the 0 second. And if I select the first keyframe and have my current time indicator over that, I can change the value. So we're going to change that to 15 seconds. Excellent. We can see that that updates right away inside my composite panel, and I'm able to see that countdown still goes to 0 seconds. Now all I have to do is close out this window. So I'll just close out all those sections down here in the timeline, and I'll close this and make sure that we save our project. And once we do, you can see all those updates take place here in After Effects. So it's very easy for us to bring it over. And keep in mind, you can also save this as a preset inside of Boris Title Continuum Studio and then be able to use this so we don't have to go back and make those changes again. So explore the effects browser with the BCC Title Studio. And for more information, you can head over to boriseffects.com to find everything you need to know about Boris Continuum Complete.